Hey guys, so for today's video I have a really chillax sketchbook video, and I just want to let you know that I'm using the Artist Loft brand, and I'll explain why in a second. And the pen I'm using is just the Pentel RSVP pen in Fine, so just a ballpoint pen, not a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Michaels House brand Artist Loft sketchbook for this video, and I'm just going to explain why I'm using a pretty cheap sketchbook, and that is because it is very freeing to have something that is not super expensive to just doodle in, you know? So if you have any problems with your sketches and putting them in a sketchbook, because I know when you begin using sketchbooks it's really difficult to use them, just grab a sketchbook that's not very expensive. I think this one was like $5 or $6, and it's really big. It's got a bunch of pages, and I kind of like the paper quality because it's a little bit rough and it has some texture to it, so I like this sketchbook. And if you're wondering, some of the stickers that were on my sketchbook are, at the top they were just my stickers, and then at the bottom they are from Torian and then Ashley, Miss Pacey on Instagram. So I'll have links to them down below, so you know who they are, and if you want to get their stickers you can do it. So for this video, I'm just going to be doing a really chill kind of watch me draw sketchbook thing Q&A. So I asked yesterday on my Instagram to ask me any questions that you would like me to answer in this video, and that is what I'm going to do. So the first question is, which sketchbooks do you use? And for this video, I just showed you I use the Artist Loft brand sketchbook, but I use multiple kinds. The sketchbooks that I'm using currently are this Artist Loft sketchbook, Canson, Strathmore, and Render sketchbooks. So yeah, it depends on what I'm drawing and how expensive and posh the drawing is, because I'll use cheap sketchbooks for just doodles and all that, and then Render sketchbooks for marker drawings and whatnot, stuff that I'm putting a little bit more thought into. The next question is, well, there were two questions that were kind of similar, so I put them together. If one wants to sketch with Micron, do you advise to learn with pencil or with Micron straight away? And then the second question was, how do you get your line art to look so neat, and do you practice using confident strokes? And so the answer to this is, well, it depends on what style you're going for. In some drawings I have very clean line art, and in some drawings, such as in this video, I don't really care if my line art is very clean. And so I would say that if you're going to be going for a really clean, sleek look, you should use a pencil drawing, preferably a colored pencil underneath, like a Prismacolor Color Erase or a very thin pencil, to sketch the drawing, and then you can go over it with a Micron pen. And that's the way I got some of my Inktober drawings to look very, very neat. But as in this video, I'm just sketching using a ballpoint pen. If you just want to go for like a sketchy look, definitely just go with a Micron straight away. And with the other question that said, how do you get your line art to look so neat? Using ink is kind of daunting sometimes, especially if you're using like a bigger tip for your pen. So I would recommend using a finer tip for whatever pen you're using. So if you're using Micron pens, use a 005 or 003, maybe a 01. And as in this video, I'm using a fine ballpoint pen. So that kind of, if you make a mistake, the line isn't as thick, isn't as harsh. And if you want to go over the lines, you can, make them thicker and bolder if you wish to. So yeah, I think trying to sketch with a thin pen works very well. I am very bad with brush pens and pens that are way thicker, just because it's very bold and it's harder for me to just put down the exact stroke that I want to. The next question is digital or traditional art, and it depends on what I'm going for. I decided to answer this very early on into the video because if you can see what I'm sketching right now, it is a digital painting idea. And the way I work with my digital paintings is generally I will make a little thumbnail sketch with a pen or pencil in an actual sketchbook instead of digitally. And yeah, it's just whenever I get an idea, I draw it really quickly in a sketchbook, and it works for me. I also make little notes on the sides, letting me know what colors I was going for and exactly what the sketch is trying to represent, because sometimes it's very loose and I don't really know what I was doing when I go back over to use it as reference for my painting. It depends on what I'm going for digital or traditional. Sometimes I have a lot of time and I want to get really detailed and show a bunch of colors and lights, so sometimes I just prefer digital. But I like how many mediums there are with traditional art, and you can take it with you, and I can't bring my computer everywhere where I go. Side note, I know there's tablets, but I like working with my Huion tablet and my computer. So yeah, I like using both. It depends what I'm going for. I like to switch things up a lot. If you go on my Instagram, you can see that I never work with just one medium for a really long time. I will switch from pencil to ink to markers to digital every single week. I can't settle on one. I just love the diversity. Okay, and then there's going to be a couple of questions that are all sort of related to each other, so I'm going to just tell you what they are right now. And the first question is, how do you figure out what poses you want your characters to be in, and how can I get better at fluid posing and showing aliveness in my art? The answer to that question that I have is using references, especially until you can do memory drawings, remembering what things look like in real life and then drawing them. References are super helpful to use, and I wouldn't really ask myself how to pose because my art is kind of sketchy and not very realistic, so I wouldn't really ask myself how to pose people in your drawings and stuff, but reference is very good to use. And sometimes when I'm deciding a pose, I like to take inspiration from kind of fairy tales and historical novels and all that. You know, when I think about how somebody would be super graceful and, you know, the movements they would make and all that. Like, I know it's kind of cheesy, but that's what I kind of like in my art, sometimes to be kind of graceful. So I look for poses on the internet, reference pictures that look how I would want the image to look like, but sometimes I can't find them, so I will take pictures of myself doing the pose and use that as reference. That did not sound weird at all. The next questions are about anatomy, how to improve your anatomy. I wouldn't ask, as I said before in the first question about posing, I wouldn't ask myself that about anatomy, and I just wanted to address it because I got 3 questions on it. I'm not good at anatomy at all, and if there's something that I need to improve my art, it's anatomy, so I don't really want to say anything about it, lead any of you astray or anything. But use references. Again, DeviantArt has really good stock images. Pinterest has very many artistic, beautiful photographs that you can use as reference, and use books if you can find them at the library. I know there were a couple of questions asking me what books could I recommend that are for anatomy and, you know, art books and all that, and I really don't know because the last time I looked at any were when I was 15 or 16. But yeah, I know when I was learning about art and stuff, I would go to the library and grab all of the books on anatomy that I could find, and I would study them all. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. I would totally recommend that. That's what I did, so I can't speak from anything other than my own experience. And the next questions are, I got a couple of questions on if I use references, and do I have any advice on finding reference photos? Yes, I do use references. For about half of the drawings I made in this little sketchbook video, I used references, and what I used was Pinterest, and you should follow me on Pinterest because I am really good at finding great photos for references. It's going to be down below in the description bar if you would like to follow me. My username is just Sarah Handerick, and you can go and look at all the boards that I use for different kinds of inspiration photos. For this particular sketchbook page, I used 2 boards, my inspiration dark board and then my pretty clothes board. So yeah, I really recommend Pinterest for finding reference photos because a lot of them are artistic, you know, from actual photographers. Just try not to copy exactly everything that the photographer did. So any like stylistic choices he might have made with adding props or something like that. The next question I want to answer is, do you draw daily? If yes, do you have any tips on making that a habit? And how do you keep consistent with your art so there don't go weeks between when you post something? Do I draw daily? Most days. I don't want to lie and say, you know, I draw every single day, because that's not true. You know, there's some days when you wake up late, you have to go someplace, you come home really late, you go to bed because you're tired. Yeah, so I don't want to lie and say I draw every single day, but I try to draw every single day, and don't pressure yourself on making a completed, beautiful drawing every single day. You can go from just a doodle on a post-it note to a painting. It doesn't really matter what level of complexity you're working at, as long as, you know, you try to regularly and consistently do art. That would be my only advice to you, is just to try to doodle something or make a time in your day when you can just put on some relaxing music or your favorite TV show and just draw. don't put too much pressure on yourself to create this magnificent work. And even if that day you do something that wasn't good in your opinion, don't worry about it. Just make it an exercise to like the process of drawing rather than worrying about the actual result. So that's my tips on drawing daily. The next question is, how do you find enough time for drawing? And this kind of ties in with the first question about drawing daily. Sometimes it's really hard, but I will be quite honest, not trying to sound like a martyr who has a terrible life, I have to make sacrifices, for my art. And meaning that I go to bed really late at night, I don't really have a social life, and I sit on a chair all day because school and then art. And I don't regret it, it's fun and everything, but there's only 24 hours in a day and there's only so much that you can do, and art takes some time. So if you have a bunch of activities that you do every single day and you hang out with friends and you watch a bunch of TV, you read, you do a bunch of things, it will be hard to draw. But it depends. If you find that drawing and art is more important to you than a certain activity, then you can knock that activity off of your schedule and just draw instead. Or don't listen to me. You're taking advice from somebody who does not have a life, so that might not be the best way to go. But I'm just saying that it's hard to find time to draw, but you can if you eliminate some stuff that could be fun, but you think art is more important than that. It sounded so depressing. I didn't mean for it to be depressing. Art is fun. The next question is, are you confident about your art? And I thought I would address this because yes, I am. Even though I see so many things that could be improved in it, I would say I'm pretty confident about my art, and I wanted to talk about this because I think you should be as well. I know there's a lot of people who do not like their art and they're very insecure about it, but it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it as just a learning and growing process, and you see every drawing or painting that you make as an improvement from the one before, and it's like a therapeutic process for you, there's no reason you shouldn't feel confident about your art, and you shouldn't let anybody tell you otherwise. So yeah, I don't know, in the past 2 years I've made a lot of progress as a person, and so I'm feeling much more confident about myself and my art as well. Not like cocky, I'm just saying, I don't really mind if somebody tells me my art doesn't look good, because I'm like, oh, that's your opinion. Well, I'm very happy with it. Like, I'm living my life. You can live yours and do whatever you want to. In the end, it just affects yourself, and if it makes you happy making it, then you should be confident in it. And this will sound cocky, because ever since I was very small, around 6 years old, I was like the good one at drawing. But you can imagine how 6-year-olds draw. It wasn't that good. But ever since I was 6, like, I knew I was better at drawing than other kids. So I always bragged about it. I mean, that was like my opening line, my icebreaker. Like, I like to draw, and then I'd show people my drawings. I'd literally carry my drawings around to show people. But as I got a little bit older, like I was 12 or 13, I got a reality check because I found out what DeviantArt was, and I saw how good other artists were. I never actually felt insecure about my art because I knew that I could get to the level that other artists were if I practiced enough, So yeah, I mean, as long as you look at your art as just something that's self-improving and it helps you, mentally and all that, you should be very confident in it. I know I am, because of those reasons, not because I think it looks so wonderful and everybody should love it, because no, that's not true. The next question is, what do you hate most about your art? And do you hate it? LOL, I hate my art so much. No, you shouldn't hate your art. I don't hate anything about my art. Hate is a really strong word. I only hate a couple of things, and, it's a strong word to say you hate your art. If you hate your art, don't do it. Yeah, I like my art, and there are things in it that I don't particularly like, but of course I can improve on them. You shouldn't look at it as if the last drawing you made is the only drawing you will ever be able to make again. That's it, like, that's your legacy, because everything improves. You can suck at playing piano, but if you practice, you can get better at it. Same with art, just practicing and working on it will make it better. So you shouldn't hate your art. You should, look back and see the improvement that you made. The next question is, so there are two questions kind of similar to each other. And the question was, do you want to broaden the subjects of your art, or do you think that you'll continue and improve upon what you do now? And the second one is, if you could change anything about the way you draw, what would it be, and what's something you want to improve on? Yes, of course I want to improve on stuff. So do I want to broaden the subjects of my art? So I would want to broaden the subjects of my art, but not super much that it wouldn't be in my style anymore. So I like a lot of indie things, gothic, darker, a lot of lace and, elegant stuff. So very historically influenced. And I don't really like things that are very modern and like pop and all that. So I wouldn't really venture into the stuff that I don't enjoy drawing, but I would like to venture into things that could be interesting for me, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And the second question is, if I could change anything about the way I draw, what would it be? What would be something I want to improve on? I would love to be able to draw and not make the heads look that big, because when I'm drawing, everything looks fine. Like, the proportions look okay. I go back to the drawing 2 weeks later, and the head is too enormous. It's huge. And it really bothers me, honestly, because when I'm drawing, I force myself to make the body as big as possible. But I mean, I also draw really skinny necks, so just everything doesn't work out the way I need it to work out. I wish there was a way that I could draw a girl, give her a skinny neck, make her body proportional to the head so that the head is not a bobblehead. Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out, I guess. Okay, the next question I have is, how did you develop your personal style? Were there any big inspirations? And the next question is, how did you develop your personal style? Were there any big inspirations? And who inspired you, helped you realize the aesthetic you were after in your drawings and paintings? So I do have a video on how I found my style, and it's a little bit old and outdated, but let me bring another facet to the situation that I haven't talked in that video. And I like the question because it's asking me if there are any inspirations when I was drawing. The style that I currently have now, I like things that are lacy and elegant and reminiscent of dark historical time period. Big inspirations to me were the Grimm brothers, Edgar Allan Poe, and a bunch of like these romantic historical novels such as Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. I love that time period and how sad and romantic everything is. So those kind of were big inspirations with my personal style right now. Like, I understand a lot of my drawings are not reminiscent of that, but I don't know, somehow those inspired me. So yeah, I mean, I can't really say about my actual like drawing methods who inspired that style, but the vibe that I'm going for in my drawings, I would say that a lot of historical novels and movies inspired that. So a lot of these really sad romantic 1800s kind of novels and the gothic time period, those things really inspired me, and I like it. Also, like as I said before, I love the Grimm brothers, that kind of dark magical twist on things. I like that too. So that the first question was what inspired me to get my art style, and the second question is, what do you use as inspiration for your artworks? And I would say, as before, Pinterest is great. But music to me is a huge source of inspiration. I love indie music, so I'm always finding new artists. And anything that has this like a darker twist to it, something that's kind of epic and sad. I'm not a sad person, I'm a happy person. I just think that sadness sometimes is very inspirational. That sounded so angsty. But yeah, and also historical novels, as I said before, and movies, historical movies, I could not do without them. And fairy tales, like the Grimm brothers, the original stories, by the way. Those I really like, and they inspire me to draw. But I guess music the most, because I cannot live without music. I go to bed listening to music. I wake up and put music on, and then I listen to music as I'm doing school, art, anything. The next question is, how long did it take you to reach your level? And I guess this question has a couple of facets. It depends on what you mean by my level. So I've been drawing ever since I was 6, now I'm 18, so 12 years to get to where I am right now. But if you're talking about digitally speaking, I started digital painting when I was, I think, around 12-ish or 13, so it's been approximately 6 years. And the next question is, how long have you been on the internet? And I have been on Instagram for about 3 years and here on YouTube for I think almost 2 years. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I would say that Instagram was where I officially started to post my art online so that strangers could see it. Because I used to post my art on Google Plus, but that was for like family and friends, you know? So yeah, on Instagram, I've been here for 3 years. So the next question is, how do you get noticed as an artist in social medias? So as I said before, I've been on Instagram for 3 years, so it's taken me a while to get the following that I have. But some tips that I would have are, one, try to take as clear and good quality photos of your artwork as possible. If you have a drawing, try to get it from like overhead so that nothing is distorted. Try to get the quality as good as possible, edit it so that it's a sharp picture and that it doesn't look like it's in low lighting. Try to take it in good light, or scan the image and send it to your phone on an email. It doesn't really matter, just try to have a good quality image to begin with. And then relevant tags are a very good idea. So on all of my drawings on Instagram, I have, for example, if I had a pencil drawing, the tags I would use would be art drawing, traditional art, pencil drawing, graphite, sketchbook, sketchy, and black and white in monochrome. So that's generally the tags I use like on a pencil drawing. And I don't like to put like Insta love, Insta follow, Insta artist, you know, that kind of thing. Like the non-relevant tags, but the ones that are used all the time. I don't know. I've always felt like that would be such a salesman-y thing to do. You can do it if it works for you, that's great. But I'm just saying I've never done that before. Just try to put relevant tags, and also make tags of whatever art supplies you're using. That can be helpful to some so that they can find examples of artwork if they're looking for a certain product, how it can be used. So yeah, just try to use relevant tags. And when I started to use Instagram, I would comment very much on people's art. I mean, not like spammy, like, oh, go follow me, go check out my art, blah blah blah, or follow for follow. Remember the days of follow for follow? Oh my goodness, does it still happen? I hope not. Yeah, don't be spammy, not that, but be interactive with other artists and try to make friends, but not in a creepy way. Don't like stalk them on every single picture until they finally respond, you know? Just comment on artists' pictures, tell them how wonderful their art is. If they post something on their Instagram stories, slide into their DMs, you know. Just try to make Instagram friends, and don't really worry about getting super big on Instagram, because I never really intended to get a following. I never thought I would get 100 followers, let alone 1,000, let alone right now 70,000. Whoa, it's crazy. So yeah, don't worry too much about the following. Just try to get everything to be good quality and interact and follow artists and like their artwork. It really helps. I don't know why. I guess I mean, I still stalk my followers on Instagram all the time, and people who comment, I will like always click on their stuff and look through their images, and especially when it's like a personal account, I'm always like trying to not like an image, and I freak out if I do. So yeah, I'm sorry if I like something from 2 years ago on your Instagram. That's your personal account. I did not mean to. I was just stalking you because you commented on my photo. The next question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or future career goals and aspirations? And where, or rather than who, do you want to be in the future as an artist? So in 5 years, I see myself having my degree and I guess doing art for a living. I see myself having bunnies, drinking tea, having a nice desk with a nice window, and living a very hermit life with a bunch of art in it and Netflix and good friends. I don't really know. The future to me is kind of like a foggy area. I don't really think about it too much. I kind of live every day like one at a time. I mean, I do kind of plan ahead for a year, but like not any more than a year or two. So I really don't know where I'll be in 5 years, but I hope I'll be doing something art related. I know I'll be doing something I like, because I cannot stand, working for nothing, working just for money because I need to pay my bills. I can't do that. So I know I'll be doing something I like. And do I have any future career goals and aspirations? Yes, I would love to Well, right now I'm in the process of illustrating a super secret novel that I really need to finish, but so I can technically say I'll cross that off my bucket list in a while. But I would really love to illustrate a book from a huge publisher, like a big publisher. And a second thing is I would really, really like to illustrate album art for an album that I liked, or an artist, that was coming out with a new album. I think that's my number one bucket list, to illustrate for an album cover. When I saw that Troye Sivan had, all the album art on his covers, it kind of freaked out, and I knew who the artist was. I was super jealous that the artist got to work with Troye Sivan and work on the album art cover. So yeah, every time I see an album with art on it, I'm just fascinated, and I have to look and oh. The same with a lot of artists that I like. They have actual art as their album covers, and it really makes me. I really want to do that. But honestly, I've had 2 bands ask me to make album art for them, but both of them were like punk rock bands, and I did not like the songs at all. Like, they were very angsty, very 2008, and so yeah, I never responded to them. But something that will be indie, I would love to do album cover art for. The next question is, do you have any tips for artists making videos on YouTube in particular? Yes, I have so many of them. To begin with, I saw this question, I was like, what? No, I don't. And then I realized I really do. The first thing is, make sure you have copies of every single video that you intend on posting. Make copies into different folders in different storage locations, because you don't even know how the files get corrupted, and then you worked for hours and hours to record something and they died. The files, I mean. That has happened to me so many times. You don't even know, so many times. So please copy your files. Make sure you save everything. Make sure that you have everything important on external hard drives. Also, good lighting is important. I know I'm not one to preach, but yeah, good lighting and good quality of camera. I use a Canon 60D, and I know that's pretty expensive, but I sometimes actually use my phone camera. Well, I used to record videos. The first video I posted on YouTube was recorded with my phone camera, and it's not bad quality. It's like not amazing, but it's pretty good. So yeah, just make sure you have 1080p. Also, sometimes I love all my subscribers and followers, but sometimes people get offended if you say something. Because, I understand why, because art is really personal and means different things to different people. So disclaimers are always good to make so that you don't offend anybody. It's like, every person has their own opinion. That's totally fine. It's just that, art in general is a very personal, emotional thing. So you can say your opinion on something and somebody will disagree, and they could say that you are making a generalization. Everybody should be doing what you're saying. The next question is, I find that my style changes on my mood quite often. Does it bother you when you notice your style changing, or do you just go with it? Do you have to force yourself to draw the same way, or has it been fairly natural? How do you keep your signature style? I know what you're talking about. If you look at my feed on Instagram, every single artwork is different in style, and I don't know, it kind of bothers me that I can't, translate the same exact style to every single method and technique I have, but I don't try to force myself to have the exact same style in every single medium. It depends on how much time I have, what mediums I'm working in, and it just changes. I don't know. I don't think I have a signature style. I know what you're talking about, but just don't be very bothered about it. I still manage to have people like my art and follow me, even though everything changes all the time. So even though I don't understand it, I would say just go with it. And I guess maybe in time it will stabilize itself. The next question is, how do you force yourself out of your comfort zone? Oh boy, I don't do that very often, but I think the best way is to try to make tiny changes in your art slowly. Don't try to, for example, I draw girls a lot and no backgrounds and stuff. So if I decided to draw a guy in a very complex environment, like in the woods or on the sea or something, it would drive me crazy. I would not like it. It would be very uncomforting. But if I decided to just draw a guy with no background, or try to draw a girl in a foresty scene, within an environment, it would be more comfortable because I would draw something that I was used to drawing, but improving as well. So try to make tiny little changes. The next question is all about art block, and it's, did you ever come to a point before where you don't like the way your work turns out and you just kind of have bad sketches every time? If yes, how do you cope with it? Do you just sketch even more if you're discouraged or in a bad mood? And how do you deal with art block and make sure you keep drawing? Any tips for when you don't feel motivated or confident in your skills to keep going? Honestly, I can remember the last time I had art block, and it was like a year and a half or 2 years ago. It's not happened to me very much anymore, honestly. And I guess that's because I've pushed past it, because I know I need to do art. And I understand that if one day my drawings are not turning out very good, my paintings are not turning out good, it's just that one work, or my hand is tired. I can understand that my body has limitations and I'm tired that day. Like, I don't try to force myself. If I know I'm tired, I need a rest, I just wait until the next day or the day afterwards. But it's not really art block. It's more like I know I need a physical rest. Sometimes I know what you're saying, that you feel that your art is not good. Everything's turning out badly. And for this drawing, honestly, some of the things that I was drawing, the lines I was making, I was not very comfortable with, such as the hair in a lot of these I did not feel comfortable with. But it's okay, I just pushed past it. I don't really focus on that. And I know I said that I enjoy art for the process. So if the process is not working for you, give it a break, or try to find something relaxing that you can be listening to or doing or eating, honestly. And you can come back to it in several hours or a day. Just, art block is different for every single person. I guess if you keep wanting to draw, you could switch up the medium you're working in. That always works. You can flip your drawing around, look at it in a mirror to see its flaws. You can just doodle really silly, goofy things. I know that sounds weird, but it really works for me. If my art isn't turning out the way I want to, I'll just take a little doodle break and draw little silly things. And I guess it de-stresses you. It doesn't make you as freaked out because your art isn't turning out well. Just, take a little break. Personally, I wouldn't recommend taking a very long break from art block, because, in the end, you are the master, not the art block. Oh, and it's also a result of not feeling confident in, your art, the way you're drawing and stuff. So if you have a problem with a certain area, like anatomy, poses, lighting, or shading, or something like that, just look up tutorials on how to do those things and try to improve on those things one at a time, of course. Because that will really help. I know I have problems with my art, like anatomy and all that stuff, but in the end, I'm pretty confident with my art, so I don't really have art block that much. And even if I draw something I don't think is good, it doesn't really bother me, because I'm like, the next one I make is gonna be good, That's the way I think about it. The next question is, why do you draw? It's a very deep question, so thank you for asking that. But for me, it's very therapeutic. I kind of get lost in it, and I get lost in my thoughts. And I'm a very introverted, thoughtful, and deep person, So for me, I just like the process of it, and I like thinking and where it leads me. It's a very calming experience for me. Next question is, did you have any help or inspiration in art from your family? Actually, yes, I did. My mom was kind of the person who didn't send us to sports, and she made us read and be all intellectual and everything and smart. And so she always encouraged us to do things like drawing or reading. And she used to paint when she was younger, and her dad is also, so my granddad, also pretty good at drawing. It's kind of like a long history. And then my brother is also really good at drawing. So my mom and my brother were, I got along with my brother, the whole art thing, we gave each other tips. So yeah, my brother understands me with art because he's an artist as well. And then my mom really is very, very supportive of my art. She used to be a little bit icky about my darker drawings, because I used to go through, I guess 2 years ago, it was pretty depressive. Stuff was happening, and not that I acted depressive, but I kind of was a little bit. So all my dark art was kind of accurate to how I was feeling. So yeah, she didn't really like that, but in time she kind of understood what I was going for, my style and everything. Yeah, she's very supportive of that. My dad's not like not supportive. He's just more indifferent because he's not like an artsy person, you know? So yeah, that would be, I have a pretty good family situation. All my relatives are super nice and they're all very supportive, I guess. There's nothing to complain about. Next question is, how many, if any, OCs do you have? And I have a story in my brain, so I guess you could say the story has many original characters in it, but I have one original character and her name is Madeline. Her last name is Pinkberry, so her name's Madeline Pinkberry. I don't know if I want to change the last name because of the yogurt place, but the thing is I love the name Pinkberry for her. It suits her very well. I've drawn her a couple of times on my Instagram, and if you watched my Huion tablet review, I painted a painting of her, and it's kind of a pretty popular painting of mine. By the way, I came up with this concept when I was 13, so I'm not stealing from the internet trends with like the fashionable bob haircut and like the turtleneck. I've literally had this exact style since I was 13, so nobody say anything, okay? Next question is cats or dogs, and to that I say rabbits, but if rabbits are not present, dogs, definitely. I love them very much. Want a golden retriever when I become an adult. Next question is, how would or can you draw clothes from your imagination, and how do you know where to add wrinkles in clothing? That's what I do is I have Pinterest. I have my pretty clothes board, and I also have an inspiration magical board, and then my inspiration dark, and then I use those things as references for my art, and then eventually I can understand how the clothing looks. And how do I know where to add wrinkles in clothing? I mean, there's a whole bunch of theory that I could give about this, but I think a really quick tip would be wherever there's a joint on the body or a bump, there's gonna be a wrinkle. I mean, where like the elbows are, under the arms, all that, and where there's also seams. So yeah, I answered some of the questions on my Instagram. This was a pretty long video, I'm sorry for that, but I hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you want to, please follow me on my Instagram because I made very much mention of that. Pinterest, follow me there. I'm very good at finding pins, so you won't be disappointed. And then I also have all the rest of my social media down in the description. Also, I have my shop if you'd like to purchase anything. That would be super nice of you. Okay, cool. I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.